Network reconnaissance, scanning, fingerprinting, and information gathering. Like I said earlier, information gathering is the most important step that every single computer attacker must undertake when he or she wants to break into a particular system. Any mistake in the information gathering technique can actually mean the difference between a successful attack and an unsuccessful attack as well. As a result of which, the information gathering technique is probably the most important step that every single computer attacker must undertake. It is also sort of similar to the information gathering step that a real-life criminal usually undertakes in a real-life crime. So what all does an attacker need to look for while he is performing information gathering? Network reconnaissance, what to look for. Typically, an attacker is looking for network topology information. He is looking for a list of open ports on the target computer and the various services running on those open ports. He is also trying to identify the operating system name and version running on the target system. At the same time, probably most importantly, an attacker is also trying to identify what security mechanisms are in place on the target system. In other words, an attacker tries to identify what firewall is running on the target computer, what intrusion detection system is running on the target computer, and what other security alarms, features, and mechanisms are running on the target computer. Last but not the least, an attacker also tries to find out target user information. Sometimes finding out the target user information can actually help the attacker in maybe password guessing or maybe some other types of attacks as well. Now that we know what all to look for, how does an attacker actually execute information gathering? What are the various steps available for information gathering? Typically, an attacker can perform information gathering through ping sweeping and traceroute, port scanning and daemon banner grabbing, ICMP scanning or Internet Control Message Protocol scanning, active and passive OS fingerprinting, and finally, there are a lot of other miscellaneous techniques that help an attacker for information gathering purposes. We will briefly go through each one of these techniques one by one. Network reconnaissance, ping sweeping, and introduction. The ping tool is commonly used for host detection purposes. In other words, an attacker typically would like to use the ping tool to determine whether the target computer, which could be in any part of the world, is actually connected to the internet or not, or in other words, an attacker can use the ping tool to determine whether the target computer is alive or not. The ping tool is sort of like a sonar system in the real world. When you are traveling and when you want to figure out whether there is some object or something in front of you in your path, then typically you use a sonar system wherein you send a sonar signal in the same path that you are going to travel on, and if there is a reply that you receive back within a stipulated time period, then it typically means that there is an object in front of you. Similarly, on the internet, when an attacker wants to use the ping tool to determine whether the target computer to which the attacker wishes to connect to is actually connected to the internet or not, the attacker can send a particular type of data packet to the target system, and within the time, or within the stipulated time rather, if an attacker receives a reply back from the target computer, then it typically means that the target computer is connected to the internet. So the working of the ping tool can be determined in the following couple of steps. The ping tool actually uses the ICMP protocol, which stands for the Internet Control Message Protocol. Originally, the ICMP protocol was designed for network troubleshooting and for the reporting of error messages. In other words, during any form of internet or network transaction, if an error takes place, the ICMP protocol kicks in, wherein the ICMP protocol is responsible for identifying the error that has taken place and notifying the client and notifying the server, or rather notifying all computers involved in the network transaction about the error. Originally, the ICMP protocol was designed for network troubleshooting and the reporting of error messages. However, nowadays the ICMP protocol is being used, or rather misused, by computer attackers for information gathering purposes as well. So coming back to the working of the ping tool, what happens is in step 1, the attacker sends an ICMP echo request data packet to the target computer. So the ICMP echo request is a special form of a data packet which is created by the attacker and sent to the target computer. Now that was step 1. Once the target computer receives the ICMP echo request data packet, if it is connected to the internet, it will immediately send back an ICMP echo reply data packet. On the other hand, if the target computer is not connected to the internet, there will be no response. So depending on the difference in responses that are possible, it is quite easy for the attacker to figure out whether the target computer is connected to the internet or not. Now at this point of time, I like to give a small demonstration on how the ping tool actually works, how an attacker, or rather how can you use the ping tool to determine whether the target computer is connected to the internet or not. So for this demonstration, I'm using my laptop which runs Windows XP. So if you want to use the ping tool to determine whether the target computer is connected to the internet or not, all you got to do is go to the MS-DOS prompt or the command line prompt by clicking on Start, Run, and typing in CMD. So once the MS-DOS prompt or the command line prompt is running, all you got to do is type the ping command followed by any host name or IP address that you wish to ping. In this case, I'm going to type in a domain name or a host name that I wish to ping. Alright, I'll type my website, which is www.hackingmobilephones.com, and as soon as I press enter, my laptop will start. As soon as this message which says pinging hackingmobilephones.com is displayed, that's the time the laptop starts sending an ICMP echo request message to the domain name that needs to be pinged, and if there is a response, the first line of output gets displayed. So, and this process is repeated 4 times by the ping utility, and as you can see, since you're getting a reply from the target computer, which is hackingmobilephones.com in this example, it typically means that the target computer is online, is alive, and is connected to the internet. Now instead of typing in a host name, it's also possible to type in an IP address. So let's try typing in an IP address that I can think of. So I'll just type in a random IP address like 64.233.189.104. Press enter, and again the ping utility will start sending ICMP echo request to the IP address that I just entered. If there is a response, that is if the target IP is connected to the internet or is alive, then these 4 lines of output are displayed on the screen, confirming the target system is alive, is connected to the internet. Now another thing that is possible with ping is, it is actually possible to type something like ping 127.0.0.1. Now what is important to notice here is that the IP address that I just entered, that is 127.0.0.1, actually is the loopback IP address or the local system's IP address. So irrespective of what system you are using, if you type this IP address in the ping command, press enter, then your own system gets pinged. And the beauty about the ping command is that if you tend to forget how to use it, all you gotta do is type ping followed by slash followed by a question mark, press enter, and in the output you'll actually receive all different possible arguments, the syntax of the entire command, and how can you actually use the command, a command line prompt or the MS-DOS prompt. So you really don't need to remember the various arguments, or you don't really need to remember how to use the ping command. So that's pretty much it. Ping is extremely easy to use and can easily be used by absolutely any internet user to determine whether the target computer is connected to the internet or not. We just saw how the ping tool can be used by an attacker to determine whether the target computer is connected to the internet or not. Now a lot of people tend to argue that the ping tool is quite useless because it really does not reveal any important or sensitive data about the target computer. Now although I agree with that, I'll also like to point out that the ping tool can also be used for the following purposes. For example, the ping tool can be used for denial of service attacks or DOS attacks. A lot of people tend to argue that the ping tool is quite useless because if you really think about it, it does not reveal any sensitive, any important data about the target computer. Now, although I agree with that, I'll also like to point out that the ping tool can also be used for the following purposes. First of all, the ping tool can be used for DOS attacks or denial of services attacks. In other words, it is actually possible for an attacker to use the ping tool to restart the victim's computer, to crash the victim's computer, and even hang that victim's computer. At the same time, it is also possible for an attacker to use the ping tool for OS detection purposes. In other words, we'll actually be learning at a later stage how the ping tool can be used to determine what operating system is running on the target computer. Now, going back to the demonstration that I just gave, if you really look at the demonstration closely, you realize that that particular tool is not very useful in the sense that it is extremely slow and extremely inefficient. And typically in the real world scenario, when an attacker is trying to break into a big corporation, a big multinational company, then the ping tool that ships with most operating systems like Windows or Unix is quite useless, in the sense that the ping tool that normally ships in most operating systems is actually very slow, in the sense that you gotta ping each and every system on the target network one by one and determine what systems are connected to the internet and what systems are not. As a result of which came a new technique known as ping sweeping. Now, ping sweeping is basically a technique that allows an attacker to simultaneously probe and test multiple systems running on the target computer and figure out whether they are connected to the internet or not. Now, the difference between ping sweeping and a regular ping tool is that in a ping tool, an attacker sends the ICMP echo request packet to one system on the target computer, or the target network rather, at one point of time, waits for the response. Once the response is received, the ping tool can then be used to send another ICMP echo request packet to yet another system on the target network. And yet again the attacker will have to wait for a response. Once the response is received, only then can the attacker send yet another ICMP echo request packet to another system on the target network. So the entire process is very cumbersome, very inefficient, very slow. On the other hand, ping sweeping actually allows an attacker to send an ICMP echo request packet to multiple systems on the target network at the same point of time. So hence the ping sweeping tool makes the process of ping sweeping extremely fast, extremely efficient as well. So there are a lot of ready-made tools available on the internet which I like to discuss, which allow an attacker to carry out ping sweeping very efficiently, very quickly as well. The cPing, which is downloadable from the URL mentioned on the screen, is a freeware ping implementation which you can download, analyze and use for pinging purposes. However, fping is a fantastic, extremely efficient Unix-based ping sweeping tool that allows an attacker to carry out mass ping sweeping probes on the target network very efficiently, very quickly. It can be downloaded from www.fping.com. This is an example of how the fping utility works. Like I said, it runs only on a Unix system, and unfortunately right now my laptop is running a Windows XP operating system. As a result, I'm not able to demonstrate the particular software. However, this is typically how this software output looks. Once you've installed fping, once you go to the bash shell, the command that you need to type in the bash shell would be fping-f followed by input.txt. Now you might ask what input.txt is. Now input.txt is basically a text file which contains an entire listing of IP addresses that need to be massively ping swept. So you insert an input file from which all IP addresses or all target host names are read by the fping tool, and each and every IP address or each and every host name that is read from the input file is pinged, and the response is generated and displayed on the screen. As you can clearly see, there are approximately a couple of different IP addresses that are not alive or not connected to the internet, while most of the other IP addresses seem to be alive, seem to be connected to the internet. So that's the fping tool for you. We'll continue with the other tools that I totally recommend that all of you download from the internet and start using on a daily basis for pinging purposes. Superscan is a Windows-based mass ping sweeper, one of the fastest, one of the most reliable, one of the most efficient Windows-based ping sweeping tools available on the internet. It has the ability to also perform ping sweeping using alternate protocols instead of ICMP, because the ping sweeping or the ping tool that we have discussed till now uses the ICMP protocol to send an ICMP echo request and record an ICMP echo reply sent back by alive systems. However, the Superscan software, which is again available on the internet, can actually be used to use or rather rely on non-ICMP protocols for ping sweeping purposes as well, which makes it extremely good, specifically if the target network is running a firewall which has disabled the ping tool or which has disabled the traditional ICMP based ping sweeping techniques that we have discussed till right now. Another extremely good tool that I like to recommend to all of you is a tool called Ping Sweep. It's one of the fastest ping sweeping tools available. However, it's not a freeware. It is actually a commercial tool which is actually sold to big corporations, big system administrators as well. However, like I said, it is probably one of the fastest ping sweeping tools available on the internet. Another extremely fantastic, extremely efficient and extremely fast tool that I like to recommend to all of you is a tool called Nmap, which has been coded by somebody called Fyodor. It is freely available on the internet for both Windows and Unix platforms. It allows ping sweeping using almost all of the alternate protocols as well. So not only does it have the capability to perform ICMP based ping sweeping, but it also provides the user with alternative protocols that can be used for ping sweeping purposes. There's another software called WS Ping Pro Pack. It's again freely available on the internet at the URL that has been shown on the screen. It's yet another Windows-based, fast, reliable, efficient ping sweeper. At this point of time, I like to give a small demonstration which will actually give you a better idea, will actually give you a better picture of how the various ping sweeping tools that we have briefly discussed till now actually work. We'll also be discussing how ping sweeping tools can be used to determine what systems on the target network are actually connected to the internet and what systems on the target network are not alive. Now, ping sweeping is definitely the way to go. The regular ping tool is just too slow, too inefficient. So what I've done here is I've downloaded the most popular, most efficient ping sweeping tools that I just mentioned, and I'll be giving a small demonstration of how you can use all these tools to carry out ping sweeping effectively, efficiently. I'll also be giving a demonstration on how you can evade firewall detection and bypass a firewall and still carry out ping sweeping attacks or ping sweeping probes on the target computer or the target network. The first software that I'd like to demonstrate today is a software called Superscan. Superscan is freely available on the internet. It's one of the fastest Windows-based ping sweeping tool. So this is typically what Superscan looks like. All you got to do is click on Tools, and in the space provided, type in a domain name or an IP address that you wish to ping. So in this case, I'm going to again use my website, hackingmobilephones.com. I click on the ping arrow button, and in the output, my website gets displayed. Now in this case, what is happening is, if you notice, it says no response from the particular IP address that has been displayed. Now, what happened here was either the WHOIS or the DNS server that is being used to resolve the domain name into a respective IP address is down, or on the route that is being followed between this software and my website has a firewall in between, which is not replying or which is not allowing the ICMP echo replies to reach the system, or there is a problem with the configuration of the software. But Superscan is extremely fast. As you notice, as soon as you click on the arrow button, immediately you start receiving the output displayed in the space provided. So I totally recommend all of you to download SuperScan from the URL provided and start experimenting with it and start noticing the various different types of responses that you start receiving. What is extremely interesting about the SuperScan tool is, if you click on the Host and Service Discovery tab, you'll notice that it has actually 4 different types of host discovery mechanisms. It does not only depend on the ICMP echo request message that we discussed briefly, it also uses other ICMP scanning techniques or other ICMP pinging techniques like the timestamp request or the ICMP address mask request or even the ICMP information request message. So if a firewall is running on the target computer, and typically firewalls, they usually have a countermeasure against the ICMP echo request, but very few firewalls are running a countermeasure against these 3 different other types of ICMP pinging techniques that this software actually has the capability to perform. And if you click on the scan option, again you can type in any domain name or IP address that you wish to scan or probe. Again typed in my website, which is hackingmobilephones.com. Click on the play button, and in the output it starts the host discovery process. If you notice, since I enabled all 4 different types of ICMP probing, what it did was it actually first of all performed the ICMP echo request scanning, then it performed the ICMP timestamp scan, then address mask scan, and finally it actually even performed the ICMP information scan probe on the target computer, which is hackingmobilephones.com. As you can clearly see, the output is not what is true. The output that we're getting is false, because obviously the IP address, or rather the host name that I entered, is actually alive, is connected to the internet. There seems to be something wrong on the path from this laptop to my website at this point of time. Maybe the DNS server of the ISP is down, or maybe there's something wrong with the configuration of the software. But of course, like I said earlier, SuperScan is a fantastic tool that I totally recommend to all of you. Another tool that I like to show, which allows you to ping sweep the target network, is a software called WS Ping Pro Pack. It's again freely available on the internet. Once you download it and install it on your Windows-based system, then this is pretty much what the software looks like. And once the software is loaded onto your screen, in the space provided, first of all you got to select the ping tab, and once you have selected the ping tab, in the space provided, you got to type in any domain name that you wish to ping. So again, I'm going to ping my website, which is hackingmobilephones.com. Click on start, and immediately the software starts pinging the domain name that you just entered. And what this does is it actually pings the domain name with 5 different ICMP echo request packets. And depending on whether the target computer is connected to the internet, you will either get a successful response or there will be no response from that particular system. And based on the output that is displayed on the screen, you can determine whether the target computer is connected to the internet or not. Let's quickly move on to the Nmap demonstration. In my personal opinion, Nmap is the most fantastic information gathering tool. It is also probably the most efficient and the fastest and the most powerful ping sweeping tool available on the internet. So the way Nmap works is, first of all, Nmap is available for both Windows and Unix platforms. And once you have downloaded Nmap and install it on your system, all you got to do is go to the MS-DOS or the command line prompt, and once the command line prompt is running, you got to go to the Nmap directory. I have installed Nmap in C drive. So once you have opened the Nmap directory, you can type something like Nmap followed by SP followed by the domain name that you wish to ping probe. Now the SP argument tells the Nmap command that the regular ICMP echo messages should be used for the ping probing process. So once you have typed this, if you press enter, Nmap will send an ICMP echo request to hackingmobilephones.com, and since hackingmobilephones.com is alive, it is connected to the internet, the output says one IP address, that is one host, scanned in 1.57.2 seconds. In other words, the host name that I just entered is alive, is connected to the internet. Now what is so good about Nmap is that not only can you type in a host name, you can even type in a IP address instead of the host name. So let me try typing an IP address that I can think of. So I'll type 202.71.129.91. Press enter, and within a few seconds, rather less than a second, 0.741 seconds it took for Nmap to figure out that the IP address that I just entered, which is 202.71.129.91, is connected, is up, is running, is alive, is online on the internet. Now the best part about Nmap is that it has the capability of using non-traditional messages, using non-traditional protocols other than the ICMP echo messages to carry out the ping probing on the target computer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give a demonstration of how you can use Nmap to carry out non-traditional, non-ICMP echo message based ping probing on the target computer. So say for example, if you wish to carry out UDP probing on the target computer to figure out whether the target computer is alive or not, the command that you need to type is nmap followed by the argument pu, which tells Nmap that UDP probing should be used, followed by sp, followed by the host name that you wish to probe. So again, it's going to be my own website. I press enter and wait for the response. Now if you notice, the response is quite interesting. Now all of you already know that hackingmobilephones.com is connected to the internet. If you use your browser at this point of time, you will be able to connect to hackingmobilephones.com. So let's try using that. Let's ensure that Hacking Mobile Phones is connected to the internet, is actually alive at this point of time. So I start my browser, type hackingmobilephones.com, and as you can clearly see, hackingmobilephones.com is alive, is connected to the internet. But when you try the UDP scan on hackingmobilephones.com, the output that you receive is that 0 hosts are up, 0 hosts are connected to the internet. Now what is that supposed to mean? It typically means that hackingmobilephones.com is running a firewall which has blocked UDP scanning, and since it has blocked UDP scanning, there is no response from that host, that is hackingmobilephones.com. As a result, Nmap displays an output which tells the user that 0 hosts are up and running, which is not true. It just actually means that the firewall running on hackingmobilephones.com is preventing the successful running of the UDP scan probe on the website. Now let's quickly try the traditional ping probe on the same website. Let's ensure that there's not something wrong with Nmap and there's indeed a firewall running on hackingmobilephones.com. So I try the traditional ICMP echo message based ping probe on hackingmobilephones.com by typing nmap followed by sp followed by the domain name, press enter, and it says 1 host up and running. So indeed there is a firewall running on hackingmobilephones.com which has blocked UDP scanning and does not allow UDP ping scans to display the correct result. So that's the first form of alternate ping scan possible using Nmap, which is UDP ping scan. Let's try another alternate scan known as TCP ACK ping scan. So the way this works is type Nmap followed by dash followed by PA followed by SP followed by the domain name that you wish to probe. Press enter. My gut feeling says that it will say that the host is down, and that's exactly what happened, because again there is a firewall running on hackingmobilephones.com which rejects TCP ACK ping scans taking place by the attacker or being executed by the attacker, as a result of which the output that is displayed by Nmap actually makes the user believe that hackingmobilephones.com is not alive, is not connected to the internet. Let's try the third alternate ping scanning technique available using Nmap, and the technique is called TCP SYN ping scan. So TCP SYN ping scan, the way this works is type Nmap followed by dash, followed by PS, followed by SP, and the domain name that you wish to scan. Now, as soon as you press enter, my hunch is that the output will display the correct result, which is that the hackingmobilephones.com domain name is indeed alive, is indeed connected to the internet. So I pressed enter, and as you can clearly see, within a few seconds, the output that we receive from Nmap tells us that one host is up and running, tells us that hackingmobilephones.com is indeed alive, it is indeed connected to the internet. Let's try yet another alternate ping scanning technique available using Nmap. The name of this technique is ARP ping scan. ARP ping scan. The way this works is type Nmap dash followed by PR followed by SP followed by hackingmobilephones.com. Press enter. Within a few seconds, the output tells you that the target host, that is hackingmobilephones.com, is indeed connected to the internet, is indeed alive. So Nmap, like I said earlier, is definitely one of the most powerful, one of the most advanced ping sweeping tools available on the internet. Now, all the examples that we saw till right now were examples of how you can ping a single host. Now, using Nmap, like I said earlier, ping sweeping is extremely easy. All you got to do is type Nmap followed by SP followed by any IP address that you wish to ping sweep, or rather a range of IP addresses that you wish to ping sweep. So in this case, I'm going to type 202.71.129.0 slash you can type 32, press enter, and it starts the ping sweeping process. All the examples that we have seen till now are examples of how you can use Nmap to carry out ping probing on a single target computer. However, the beauty about Nmap is the fact that it actually allows you to carry out ping sweeping on multiple hosts at the same time. We just saw how easy it is for an attacker to use automatic ping sweeping tools to determine all the systems on the target network which are alive, and also identify those systems which are not alive on the target network. So from a system administrator's point of view, what are various detection and countermeasure strategies that must be implemented to fight ping sweeping probes? I like to discuss the detection strategies first. Manual or automated traffic monitoring must be done. End of the day, ping sweeping is not too difficult to identify, not too difficult to detect. So a system administrator must ensure that manual detection practices or automated detection practices are in place to ensure that ping sweeping can easily be identified by just monitoring all the incoming data packets which are being sent by the target IP addresses or the target users. What are the various countermeasures that are possible against ping sweeping? Ping sweeping can easily be countered with a simple access control list implemented either by a firewall rule or at the router level. And the access control list or the filtering mechanism that is being used in this case is access-list 101 deny ICMP any 8. In other words, what this particular access control list is doing is, it is actually denying any ICMP probing packets which have been sent by the attacker for pinging purposes. However, I like to make a note that if the attacker is using non-ICMP protocols for pinging purposes, such a countermeasure will not work. At the same time, there are actually a lot of different ready-made tools that are available which must be downloaded by system administrators and must be installed and be implemented to counter ping sweeping attacks. So I'd like to briefly discuss the various tools, countermeasure tools that are available on the internet which counter ping sweeping probes. PingD is a fantastic Unix-based daemon that not only allows efficient detection of ping sweeping probes, but at the same time, sometimes if it is configured properly, PingD can be used to send back extremely interesting responses to the target attacker. Because what happens is, a system administrator must try and make the job of the attacker as difficult as possible. So using the PingD tool, it is actually possible for a system administrator to fool the attacker into believing that offline computers are actually online, or rather vice versa, online computers are actually offline. So using the PingD tool, a system administrator can fool the attacker and confuse him with false information. Another fantastic tool that I like to recommend to all of you is the ScanLogD tool, which is a fantastic, again, Unix based ping sweeping detecting software. Protolog is again a Unix based tool that not only detects but also logs all ping sweeping probing attempts that are executed by any potential attackers. IPPL is yet another similar tool which can be used for detection and logging of ping sweeping probes that might be executed by attackers on the internet. So as you can clearly see, ping sweeping is very rampant, is extremely easy to execute, and is probably the first information gathering step or first information gathering technique that is normally or very regularly implemented by attackers on the internet.